If you've ever tried to build a new habit and felt like you just couldn't make it stick, this video will show you how to make building habits so easy you cannot fail. Over the past 7 years of building my company, I think I've read every major book about habit formation. In my last series, we broke down Brendon Burchard's High Performance Habits. And in this video, we're shifting to one of the most popular books in the habit genre, Atomic Habits by James Clear. While High Performance Habits focuses on big picture behaviors for peak performance, Atomic Habits zooms in on the small, repeatable actions that make big results inevitable. Today, we're breaking down 5 takeaways from the book, focusing on the fundamentals of habit formation. The next 2 breakdowns will be about what James Clear calls environmental design and how to build habits for the long term. And if you want to follow along with the series, I've created a free 30-day habit accelerator to help you kickstart the habit you've been thinking about. It's linked in the description. Let's start with the 1% rule. James Clear opens the book with this idea that it's the small changes we make that compound over time and alter the course of our lives. If you can get 1% better each day, you won't just be a little better by the end of the year. You'll be 37 times better. And the math works both ways. Getting 1% worse every day compounds just as quickly in the opposite direction. Imagine hitting snooze for just 10 minutes every morning. By the end of the year, you've lost an entire work week of time. The takeaway is that change doesn't have to be radical to be meaningful. In fact, it has to be small at first for us to stick with the change beyond the honeymoon phase of motivation. Next up, James Clear builds on the work of Charles Duhigg to explain the habit loop. It's a 4-step cycle that controls the formation and continuation of habits. The first stage is the cue, which is the trigger that initiates the behavior. This could be something as simple as your phone buzzing on the table. The second stage is the craving, the desire that motivates you to actually act. In this case, it might be the curiosity around the notification you just received. The third is the response, which is the actual habit you perform, like picking up your phone and checking the notification. And lastly is the reward, the benefit that reinforces the habit. In this scenario, you get a dopamine hit from reading the text and engaging with all the pretty colors on your phone. Once you understand the habit loop, you can start redesigning it. You can do that by making the cue more obvious and coming up with a reward for a habit that you want to build. For example, if you want to drink more water in the morning, you could keep a full glass of water next to your bed and only reward yourself with caffeine in the morning after you drink the water. If you want to break a bad habit, you need to make the cue invisible. For me, this means I can't have an espresso machine, especially an instant espresso machine, in the office because I have no ability to decline caffeine on demand. Understanding the loop is how we build the systems that support our goals, like not drinking 6 shots of espresso every day. Focusing on systems over goals is essential if we want our habits to stick. James Clear writes that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. He explains that winners and losers have the same goals, but what sets them apart are the systems they develop. Olympic athletes all want to win gold, but it's their daily training process that determines who actually does. Goals can set you in the right direction, but it's the systems that keep us moving. One example of how we can fuel those systems can be found in the 4th takeaway, which is about habit stacking. Habit stacking is one of the simplest ways to build a system because you're attaching a new habit to something you already do. The formula is simply, after I do the current habit, I will now do the new habit. For example, after I make my morning tea, I will sit down to meditate for 2 minutes. This system works because our current habits are already wired into our brains. Attaching a new one to an existing routine creates a natural trigger, so we don't have to rely on motivation, which is extremely short-lived. The tea example is an actual thing that got me to finally start meditating. It wasn't until I habit stacked meditation with drinking my tea that sitting in silence felt rewarding enough to turn it into an automatic behavior. I also think I had this story in my head that said if I was drinking tea while meditating, my meditation didn't count. But for one, that's definitely a made-up rule, which became pretty obvious once I started meditating. And 2, now I genuinely look forward to my morning meditation tea ritual. And I'm way less likely to skip it and make an excuse like, I don't have time. The final takeaway is the strategy that ties everything together. Most people set goals like run a marathon or write a book, but Clear says that the key to sticking with our habits is to start focusing on developing the identity, not just determine the outcome. Instead of just focusing on what you want to achieve, focus on who you want to become in the process. For example, I'm a runner. I'm a writer. I'm someone who prioritizes their health, or I'm someone who honors my commitments to myself. When you shift your identity, your habits become a reflection of that identity. Every action you take is what Clear calls a vote for the type of person you want to be. The more votes you cast, the more you reinforce that identity, and the more automatic those habits become. Eventually, of course, all of these votes become the outcomes that you're looking for. Running a marathon, writing a book, or whatever it is you want to achieve. Okay, I hope part 1 of this series was helpful. Next week, we'll be talking about environmental design, how to make good habits extremely easy and obvious, while making bad habits invisible and inconvenient. And if you want to follow along with the series, make sure to download the free 30-day habit accelerator linked below. Everyone who downloads it before the end of the series will also get an invite to a free Q&A coaching call where I'll answer any of the questions that you have around habit formation and do a deeper dive into the keystone habits that you care about. Hopefully you'll be able to join us live, but if you can't, I'll send the recording after. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.